There's three main options to you when you're considering lane positioning on your motorcycle. Because bikes are a lot smaller than cars, they can go in between the lanes and makes it a whole lot better. So you have your left side of the lane here, the right side of the lane, and the middle of the lane. Now you'll notice that the middle of the lane, I actually have it crossed out here with red, because typically in the middle of the lane, you have debris like oil, gravel, sand, water. There's always crap in the middle of the road. So honestly, you really have two options when it comes to riding your motorcycle in the lane. You have the right part of the lane and the left part of the lane. Now, the left part of the lane is going to be your default setting. Why is that? Because the left-hand side of the lane, you're afforded more escape paths and options, and typically you have better visibility for the car drivers that are around you. People usually look in their left-hand side of the mirror, they can see you right here, and it's usually a better spot to be than over here in the right. But the big takeaway I want to talk to you guys about today is that everything is always negotiable when it comes to lane positioning on your motorcycle. What do I mean by that? I mean that depending on the situation, you may want to be in the right lane because it offers you a higher degree of safety. If you notice someone kind of swerving out of the lane here, you're not going to stay in the left-hand side of the lane. You can move over here to the right-hand side of the lane and give yourself a space cushion. Space cushioning is the biggest thing you can do to keep yourself safe while on the road. You guys have seen in my traffic videos, I'm a big advocate of getting through and around traffic to create space between you and other vehicles. You're on a motorcycle. There are plenty of advantages to being on a motorcycle. They typically are a little bit faster than the cars around them, and you can split through traffic and filter through the front of red lights, and you can get around from traffic a whole lot easier. One of the main ways this comes into play is passing. Now, when you're passing a vehicle on a motorcycle, you want to start over here in your default position of the left, and you want to jump over here while accelerating slightly. Not too much, you don't want to go too fast and not have the other car drivers not anticipate what you're going to try to do. Have your blinker on, all that good stuff, and keep over here to the left-hand side of the lane and give yourself as much space to this car as possible in case they decide they want to go over to this lane. This gives you a little bit of a cushion. Remember, we're always creating cushion. Back here before we go for the pass, we have some cushion. By the time we're over here, we have cushion. And then once we get over here to execute the final pass on this car, you see I have a red question mark on why we're over here to the right. Well, again, everything is negotiable with lane positioning. For example, if you head over here and you see that there's oil or crap or gunk in the road, don't stay to the left, go all the way to the right. But try to make your way back to the left-hand side of the position of the lane as much as possible. Now, folks, I did want to point out, I'm not an MSF instructor. I'm not certified in any way to teach people how to ride safely. Rather, I'm a very experienced motorcyclist who spent 10 years on the road, hundreds of thousands of miles, and this is just my personal experience with how to stay safe on your bike. What I'm showing you guys here is common practice and stuff that I've researched and looked at as well. But I did want to make that disclaimer. So again, depending on if you're in a 3-lane traffic situation, maybe staying in the center lane off to the left is going to be your best bet. If you're in a 2-lane, maybe staying off to the right maybe is going to be your best bet. If you're on a tight highway where there's no escape paths, you're definitely not going to want to be on the right, but maybe you would if there's a car coming the other way. Again, it's always negotiable. You're always managing traffic situations, but keep in mind the left-hand side of the lane is going to be your best bet. Now let's talk about twisties, single lane, carving through the corners of a mountain or something like that. You know, this is where lane positioning comes critical because you can save your life by doing this. What you're trying to do when you're riding in twisties is safely negotiate your way down the road. There are no lap records on your mountain roads, despite what your local group ride guys might tell you. There's no apexing on the street. I see this so often when I go out to see guys on our local roads here in Austin. They're cutting from outside, inside, outside, trying to carve some sort of efficient path through the mountain roads. And guys, keep in mind, when you're riding on twisties, your only objective is to have fun and to stay safe. You're not out there setting lap records. You're not out there testing the limits of your machine because you cannot safely test the limits of your bike in those sort of conditions. That is what the track is for. So you should always be riding at most 50 to 60% of your riding capabilities on those twisty roads. You definitely should not be pushing the envelope, trail braking in super hard, feeling the front end shatter or squish underneath you. You know, you should be riding in a smooth, controlled manner, trailing into corners nice and easy, getting on the gas nice and easy, and your lane positioning is going to become a crucial part of that. Again, we're creating space, right? So for right-hand corners, if we're going down the road over here, I see that I've done this as if we are riding in the UK, but if you're over here in America, it would follow the same sort of path, right? If you're in the right-hand side of the lane over here, what you're doing is hugging the inside of this corner. Why is that? Sticking to the right-hand side of the lane to get away from the yellow line over here. You know, oftentimes on popular twisty roads and mountain roads, people can come very, very close to the yellow, especially if they have a four-wheeled vehicle. They're not used to how big they are, and they're taking up a lot of space in the lane. Putting yourself over here is a recipe for disaster. You want to take a late apex as much as possible. So you're going to stick over here to the left, right, before you get here to make sure you have visibility over here on this side. You're creating that space cushion. You're over here, you're checking this out, sticking over here to the left-hand side of the lane, and then you're going to take the inside on a later apex to make sure that you're taking a safe line through the twisties. Now, going through left-hand corners, it's going to be a similar thing. Over here, I've done it in the American way where we stick to the right-hand side of the lane. And so you're going to take that delayed apex and keeping the space to the cushion over here to the middle. You don't want to be going outside, inside, outside, clipping this yellow line and taking it out over here despite it being faster. What you want to do is create space all the way over here and make sure that you are staying safe on your bike. But bringing back to it, it's always negotiable. If you're over here on this side of the road and there's debris and crap in the road here, well, you may have to cross over to the center or even all the way to the left to make sure you avoid it, because if you hit the lower ends of grip, sand, gravel, oil, those kinds of things, you're going to lose traction and you're more likely to crash. So it's always negotiable. If you're riding down a single lane twisty road, you're going to want to practice these fundamentals, but you're not going to want to do it such that you don't ever break from them, because you're always trying to avoid obstacles. When it comes to riding on the road, you guys are going to see this the more miles you rack up. It's really about just creating space and avoiding obstacles and getting to your destination safely. There are, of course, good, proper riding techniques you can practice, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is avoid obstacles, get there safe, and create space cushions. Again, your results may vary depending on what side of the pond you live on. Like I said over here, I drew it as if we were in the UK or India or somewhere like that, but if you're riding in the American market, and in other North American, Canada, even Brazil, there's all kinds of places where we drive on the right going in this direction of traffic. You're just gonna stick to the inside of the lane here. Go all the way to the left, on the inside, and then stick over here. Trying to cross the center as little as possible, because as we mentioned, the center is where crap builds up. Oil, debris, sand, gravel, there's always crap in the middle of the lane. So the less you do kind of like left to right and right to left inside of your lane, the less likely you're going to interact with the stuff that's in the middle. That's why I tell you guys, stick to one side of the lane, even when you're on those twisty roads. Staying over here is going to be safer. But again, we're doing this over here to create visibility for us and to create space, but we can cross the center here, but it's always negotiable. What has 3 cylinders, an Öhlins rear shock, and enough torque to rotate the earth beneath you? Why, it's the MT-09 SP giveaway bike on YammyNoob.co, of course. We finally have one of these as a giveaway, and you're not going to want to miss it. Head over to the website and get 10x entries for every dollar you spend. We've got hats, t-shirts, keychains, but best of all, I recommend becoming a member to join our community and get automatic entries to win. You can stack them up and apply them to giveaways, and they never expire. We have some amazing bikes coming up that you're not going to want to miss. 3-day giveaways, top shelf leader bikes, and much more to round out this year. So head over to YammyNoob.co and get 10x entries to win the MT-09 SP giveaway. Now let's talk about group riding. Group riding is something that I see people do wrong more often than not, if I'm going to be totally honest. The proper way to ride in a group is to ride staggered and with 1 second to the guy who's diagonal to you, not the guy in front of you. So your lead rider of the group should be in the left-hand side of the lane, practicing good lane positioning, and the second rider takes up space over here to the right in a diagonal with 1 second of buffer. This rider back here should, in theory, be about 2 to 3 seconds back from the lead rider over here, and the train's gonna go down in a zigzag pattern. Why is that? Well, because if you're on a motorcycle, you can ride like you're invisible and you can definitely make your way around traffic, but if you're in a group, you wanna make your presence known on the road. If you're in a group of 4 or 5 guys, riding more staggered is gonna create more space. It's gonna create everybody to have the appearance on the road of being larger than they are. Car drivers will see a group of riders much more easily than they'll see one little staggered pack of riders as well. And the thing is, if you're riding side by side like your motorcycle cops or something, you're just at more risk of colliding with each other. You're not creating good space cushion. I truthfully don't know why motorcycle cops like to ride side by side, because it's just more dangerous than it needs to be. Riding staggered is way more smart. The thing to keep in mind is sometimes in group rides, people are not remembering to stick to their side of the lane, but you always want to stay staggered here. I've been on many press rides and group rides out in places where I don't know these people, and in front of me I got the rider going in the left lane, then the right lane, then the left lane, then the right lane, part of the lane, right? You need to always be adapting to what that rider in front of you is doing. If they decide they want to stick to the right of the lane, you should be in the left of the lane. If they go to the left, you should be to the right. Try to always stay staggered with them, because that's going to be safer for you. Now, that does not hold up if you're gonna go ride in groups in these corners, in these twisty mountain roads. Typically what you see in that situation is a single file line, because it's safer for everybody. You know, I showed you guys in a lot of my reaction videos that you got riders riding super close and all bunched up in these canyon roads, and that really is not best practice. You should be riding in a single file line, practicing these good lane positionings with 2 to 3 seconds of space. There's really no reason to be all up on your buddy like it's a track day, because if they hit the brakes or they hit something, you're gonna go down too. If you have 3 seconds of buffer on a twisty road, you still have plenty of time to see the guy ahead of you, unless it's a super tight twisty kind of road, but you should really create space. There's no reason to ride staggered and super close together if you're riding a twisty set of roads. And again, I'm a big advocate for filtering at red lights. That's gonna create more space for you. So when you're doing that, you really wanna make sure that you have a solid corridor to follow through. Now this is talking for the North American market, where people aren't as familiar with lane filtering. And unless you live in a state that has it legalized and has had to legalize for a while, like California, I don't recommend lane splitting, which is where you're going with traffic while everybody's moving. Lane filtering, when everybody's stopped at a red light, is relatively safe. It's pretty rare that someone juts out at the last minute if they're already all stopped up. Now, keep in mind, you might have some people honk at you or get a little mad at you. Personally, for me, I don't care, because I'm staying safe on my bike. I'm filtering up, I'm avoiding the traffic, I'm using my motorcycle because I am a different type of vehicle on the road. We like to follow all the rules of the road, but a motorcycle has several advantages offered to it that a car driver simply does not. So folks, that's my breakdown on lane positioning. These are just a general guideline of what I use when I'm out there on the road. I'd like to reiterate that I am not an MSF instructor. I'm simply a very experienced motorcyclist, and this is just best practice and what I've learned over my many years of riding motorcycles. I highly recommend you go and take an MSF class or a rider course to further understand these concepts. Use this as a starting point, and remember, it's always negotiable. If you guys have any feedback on this little lesson that your Papa Yam has provided to you today, professorial Yam in the video, let me know in the comments down below. I always love hearing from you guys. And remember, don't miss out on that giveaway MT09 SP. It's seriously one of the best bikes we've given away. I love that thing. I'm super excited to get more miles under it, understand a little bit better, and show you guys a bunch of cool content with it. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. I truly do appreciate it. I hope you learned something. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Well, boys, that's the end of this video. But you know what's really cool? Our members over on YamiNoob.co are the reason that we can keep this show going. I have a ton of fun doing this, and without those members, it would simply be impossible. So as a way of giving back, I give away these awesome motorcycles. This is an MT09 SP that's up for grabs right now on YamiNoob.co. So join as a member, click that link down below on YamiNoob.co. But while you're doing that, click this link right over here and keep watching some more videos. Learn more about motorcycling, have some fun with me, watch some cool memes, and maybe I will also elucidate you to some of the finest cultural touchstones in motorcycling.